Hi, this is Marcus Weiner, publisher at Fish Alaska and Hunt Alaska magazines. Thanks so much for coming to TOVOS, our Think Outside virtual outdoor show. I hope everyone is home and safe and taking the right precautions, but at the same time is excited for the upcoming fishing season, is planning and preparing and getting their gear ready, and is doing as much fishing as they can locally at home. That's what I've been doing. For my presentation, I'm going to talk to you about how I smoke salmon. That's something that most of us love to do. We all do it a little bit differently, and this is how I do it. This is also a preview of what's to become our peak performance video series, where we'll bring you expert tips on many aspects of fishing to help you improve. So sit back and enjoy. Again, thanks for coming. Step one is to get enough salmon ready to fill the Big Chief smoker, which takes about 15 pounds of salmon. We're starting with frozen salmon, so we're going to let this fully defrost before we cut it into strips. Okay, so the salmon is fully defrosted. We're using coho salmon that we caught on the Sayou River last fall. We also love to smoke sockeye and king salmon. And we've taken it out of the packaging and rinsed the slime off of the skin side and just patted the dirt off of the meat side. You don't want to really run your salmon under a lot of water because it'll absorb water and that's bad for the texture and the taste. So now that it's ready to be cut into strips, my process, I like to turn the fillet sideways and take off the belly meat. It's about equal thickness, leaving me the bigger, thicker portion of the fillet. And from there, I want to cut that into 3 or 4 strips. Again, I'm looking for uniform sizing so that they cook and they smoke at about the same rate. This is a Knives of Alaska coho model knife. I really have liked using this over the last couple of years. It stays super sharp. It's very comfortable in the hand. It comes in a 2-knife series called the Fisherman's Combo, and the smaller one is the steelheader version, which is great for removing bones. After I've cut my salmon into strips, I'll lay it out on my paper towels, again, just to soak up any extra water because we want our salmon to be dry before we put it into our brine. So we'll finish processing the rest of the salmon and then come back and show you how we make our dry brine and stack. I've cut the salmon up into strips and I've laid it out here to dry on paper towels. I patted the tops of the salmon to get it dry. That's about 15 pounds of processed coho. Now I'm ready to make my dry brine. Dry brine is 4 pounds of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of salt, and 1/3 cup each of garlic powder, onion powder, red pepper flake, and black pepper. Okay, so now we're getting ready to stack our salmon into our dry brine, and I want to show you how I layer it. So I've built the brine here, and I'll put a base layer down on the bottom, just a couple of scoops. Spread it around. And then what I want to do is just start to stack my pieces in here so that I get a full layer. And once I've completely covered the bottom of the container with our first layer of salmon, I'm going to put another layer of brine right on top of that. Okay, there we go. I want to get pretty much full coverage. You don't have to be too heavy with the layer of brine that you put in there, because what's going to happen over the next 24 hours is that this dry brine is going to start to turn into a wet brine. After we put all of our layers of salmon, almost parfait style, into our container, then we're going to put 1 cup of Yoshida's teriyaki sauce over the top. It's going to go into the refrigerator. Like I said, I like to brine it anywhere from about 18 to 24 hours is about what I shoot for. Sometimes I'll go a little bit longer, as far as about 36 hours. And periodically through the process, about every 6 hours, I'll turn the salmon over so that I'm mixing the ingredients together a little bit more and getting full liquefaction of my brine. And that gives complete coverage and penetration of the brine into the salmon. So now we'll just alternate the layering. So we started skin down, and on the next layer, we're putting flesh side down onto that other side. So we'll have flesh to flesh contact in there. Like that. And then I'll put another layer of dry brine over the top. After this has been in the brine for about 24 hours, we'll be back to show you what the salmon looks like. Okay, now it's time to pull the salmon out of the brine. And what we want to do is dry off as much of the brine as we can and then put it out to dry on our paper towels. And pull it out of the brine, just wipe off much brine, put it out here to dry. And after I've laid all my salmon out, then I go back over the top and with a fresh paper towel, we'll further dab it. I'm trying to dry it off as much as possible. What we're trying to do here is form a pellicle, which is a protein coating on the outside of the fish that helps more smoke adhere to the fish and give it better flavor in the smoker. So in order to do that, got to get it out of the brine, get the extra brine off of it, and then we'll run our fan over the top of the salmon for a couple of hours, and it'll be ready then to be put in the smoker. Once I've formed a pellicle and it's nice and dry, I'll place it on top of my Big Chief drying rack, which then goes on top of the Big Chief smoking rack and goes into the smoker. I started using these drying racks this year and they work really well. Fish doesn't stick to them and it really makes cleanup go a lot more quickly. So once we get all the fish laid out and a pellicle is formed, we'll come back to you. Okay, now we're ready to put the salmon into the Big Chief smoker. You can see that it's smoking already. I've had it plugged in for about an hour with a load of pellets in it, and this will bring it up to temperature and get the smoke going. I've taken one of the new drying racks and just placed it onto the normal rack that comes with the Big Chief. And now I'm going to load this towards the bottom because this is one of the thicker, these are thicker pieces on this rack. I typically like to put the thicker ones towards the bottom and rotate them throughout the process. There's room in here for 5 racks total. So we'll go ahead and finish loading that. We'll let it go for about 2 hours before we check it and add more pellets. In this first batch, I've got apple pellets and I'll stick with these for this batch today. I also like to use cherry, and these are the wood chips. This is typically what I use. This is the first time I'm using pellets. I like both products. I also like to use alder as one of the species of wood. Apple, alder, and cherry. Okay, we've got the unit loaded, all 5 racks. You can see that the racks are supported by tabs on either side. So tab on the left side and a tab on the right side. So the screens just sit on the racks. And we just fill our pail. You can see the heating element down there. Just fill it with either the pellets or the chips. Like I mentioned earlier, they go maybe 2 hours before they burn up. One of the pro tips that we'll tell you about is after I put the door on, we're going to put the box that the Big Chief smoker originally came in back over the top of it, and that will hold the heat in place and make this process go more quickly. Okay, our smoker's been going for about 3 hours now, and I want to check pieces for doneness. Over time, you get a feel for when the fish is done. It becomes firmer. It's not too hard, but it's not soft. And over time, by eating it, you'll know when your fish is done, but somewhere between 2 and about 5 hours is normally what it takes. It's been a warm spring day, 60 degrees, so it's going to be on the shorter side for doneness, and that's why at about 3 hours I'm out here to check. We've used 2 bowls of apple pellets so far. Oh, this looks well. perfectly done. It's firm to the outside. It's got a nice crust on the outside as well, but still tender on the inside. That is delicious. It's sweet, but I can still get the spice from the red pepper. I can taste the garlic. And then that finish work in the drying process, when we put cracked black pepper over the top, that's an excellent addition to this already fine recipe. You can see more of our peak performance video series online at fishalaskamagazine.com or on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.
Best fish ever.